Okay, let's begin creating this Christmas tree model. We're going to be using primitive shapes, nothing complex at all. So it'll be a stylized version of a Christmas tree. Now first, we don't want to start with the default cube that is here, so just right click to select that, and you can either press X to delete, or the delete key, of course. And the shortcut key is also within the little menu option. So we've deleted that. So let's go ahead and start with the trunk of the tree. To add an object in Blender, you can go to the Add menu, and you have all kinds of options of objects you can add. We're going to stick with the mesh options. You have your plane, cube, all the primitive objects here, and a torus. And you can also see there's a monkey. Now this is Blender's mascot called Suzanne, and it's good for testing lighting and materials and stuff like that. So it's just a little fun thing in Blender to use as a primitive object for testing out different lighting setups and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that because we're not going to be using the monkey. So, add an object, you can, like I said, the menu here, or Shift A, which is just a quick way of bringing up the menu. So Shift A, I'm going to select a cylinder. Now how do we go ahead and start shaping this object to look more like a tree trunk, because now it just looks like a tree stump. You have your object controls, which are representative of these three axes arrows. Your Z axis, which is the blue, the X axis is the red, and the green is the Y axis. You can turn that on and off just with this button. This is your translate tool, so when you grab an arrow, it will move the object. I'm just bringing it back to the center. You have your rotate widget, and if you, like, I just grabbed the red, which is the x-axis, so it'll rotate around the x-axis, and the y and the z, of course. And also your scaling tools, which scale your object along the separate axes. Now there are keyboard shortcuts for this. I'll go ahead and put those up. So to scale an object, just press S, and that will scale on every axis. To lock an axis, say you want to scale this along the x-axis, you would hit S and X. So you just hit S to scale, and then whatever axis you want, so Y in this case. So, and this works with rotate and moving as well. So if I'm going to rotate an object, I'll just rotate, but it's just going to rotate within your view. R and then X, you can rotate around the X, and that stands with the Y and the Z as well. And the move, which is your grab, so G will pick up your object, and G and then X, you can lock the axis, G, Y, etc. So those are the controls you'll need to create your Christmas tree. So first we want to scale this cylinder. I'm going to bring this back to the translate tool. Go ahead and just hit S to scale, and we'll just scale it down to about there, and actually hit S again. I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And then I'm going to hit S and then Z, and we'll get our tree trunk. So as you can see right now, the top half and the bottom half are above and below the grid floor. And I like to model as if this grid is the floor. Helps organize everything for me. So we can go into side view. So let's go to view, and I'm going to go to the right view. And you can see it's not completely flat because we're in perspective mode. There are two modes, perspective, orthographic. Orthographic gives you the flat view instead. It just removes the perspective. And this is handy when you're modeling because it removes the perspective distortion. So we're going to go ahead and work in orthographic view. Again, you can toggle that in the menu here or your number pad 5. So I'm going to hit number pad 3 to go in the right view, and I'm just going to grab this Z-axis handle and move it up, put the bottom of the trunk on the floor, and rotate back out here. Now we don't want the trunk to be just solid, such as this, because when we get the smaller top part of the area of the tree, it might show through. So we want to scale down just the top part, and we can't do that while we are in object mode, which we are in now, and that's indicated right down here in this menu. You have different modes for your objects. We're going to use edit mode and object mode for this tutorial. So you just click edit mode and it lets you see all of the vertices and edges and faces of the object. We just want to scale the top down. We can select each of these by right-clicking each vertice and then holding shift, but that would take forever, so I'm going to hit A to deselect everything. You can also hit A to select everything as well. But we are going to hit B. That just gives you a box select. So I just selected these top vertices, S to scale, and we'll just bring that down like that. And I hit A to deselect everything. And we can go back into object mode, and there is a useful toggle shortcut for that as well, which is the tab key. You can just tab between object and edit mode. So I'm going to hit 1 on the number pad to go into the front view. I'm going to hit A to deselect everything, and then shift A to bring up my add menu, and I'm going to add a cone. I'm going to move this up. Let's say I want the bottom to be about right there. And let's scale along the Z-axis to squish this down. So SZ. Well, I'm going to make this a little shallower than the top parts. So I'm going to scale this back out a bit so we have the bottom of our tree. Move it down. And we'll just put it there and move it if we need to later. So now we're going to just build levels with this cone. So to duplicate, just shift D. And we'll grab that handle and bring it up. We'll hit S to scale down a little bit. And I'm going to hit SZ to make it a little steeper. Of course, it's your tree, so it's up to you how you shape it. Shift D and grab that. And S to scale that one down. And I'm going to scale along the Z-axis, SZ to do that. Bring that up. I'm going to reselect this, so right click and SZ, make that a little steeper. Now when you do hit like Shift D to duplicate, you can notice that your object sticks to your cursor. You can right click to just put it back, and then G to grab or the handle as well. So just move it up and just keep shaping your tree. I'm just going to go ahead and scale that along the Z a little bit. Scale this as well. I might have to shorten my trunk. Which, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this the top of the tree. Just so we have less to work with. And bring that down a little bit. Scale it along the Z-axis. Scale that along the Z-axis, and maybe this one as well. And we can select the trunk of the tree. I'm going to tab to go into edit mode. And I'm going to hit Z to go into wireframe. You can also select that from this menu here, wireframe or solid. We were in solid view and I went to wireframe. That just makes it easier to box select all of the vertices, even the ones behind the ones in the front. So let me just bring this down into here, hide that away, and then A to deselect, and then tab to go back into object mode, and then Z to solid view. So there we go. We got ourselves a beginning of a Christmas tree here. Hit 1 on the number pad to go into front view. Shift A. Let's pick a UV sphere. This will be our ornaments. And as you can see, it's pretty ragged looking, but that is because it's flat shaded. We can hit smooth to smooth it out. And you can also do that with all of these other objects. I'm just right-clicking and then hitting the smooth button. You select the sphere and bring that up top here. I'm going to select the trunk. I'm going to smooth that. So let's go back to our ornament. Just S to scale it to whatever size you like. I'm going to bring it down, and then I'm going to move it out here. I'm going to have the ornaments kind of just half in, half out on the edge of the tree there. I'm going to go into top view. I'm going to go Z to go in the wireframe. Now this kind of looks like a mess, but since our objects are simple, this line is the top tier, and then this line's the next, and next, and the next. So you can position your ornaments just in the top view alone. But you'll also need a vertical view as well. So we're going to split the windows, so just left click and drag this hashtag to the left. So now you have duplicate views. We will change this one on the left to the front view, so 1 on the number pad. So now for this top tier, you just shift D and place your ornaments wherever you like. You can go all the way around if you want, but we're going to be rendering this from kind of this front portion, so I'm not going to worry about putting anything really on the back. And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and actually select all of these. So just right click on one, shift, hold the shift key down, and then right click on the rest of them. And then put your cursor over the left window, and that just makes that window active. Shift D to duplicate these, and you can move these down to the second level, and then you just have to move these out. Actually, let's not do that. So I'm going to undo that mess because that would just make things more confusing. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate one, Shift D, bring it down. And then we can position it for that second tier. So Shift D. I'll put one over here. And cursor over the left window, Shift D again, and just go ahead and repeat the process. And just Shift D and move them where you want. Excuse me. I'm afraid this is going to be one ugly tree. I'm just going to stop at this level here. Oops. Because we're going to put some presents underneath. Okay, now once you're done with all of the ornaments there, let's go back in the front view and Shift A to bring up the mesh, the add mesh menu here. Oops, there to go. There we go. Shift A. And I'm going to add an icosphere. This will be the lights. So let's just bring them, make them really small. I'm going to drag this all the way up top here. And we'll just make them a little bitty. And I'm not going to have any lights on the top part, so I'm going to G to grab this. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring it around front here. I'm going to zoom in so I can see where semi-light's kind of just touching the tree, which looks good. I'm gonna kind of drag that a little bit, zoom this out, and get myself positioned, because we're going to go ahead and just put all the lights down. We can do this the hard way or the easy way. Or I should say the hard way and maybe not so hard, not as hard way. So you can snap objects to other objects. So when we're duplicating this light, instead of positioning each light so it's, you know, just touching the cones so they're not just floating out in space, we can snap our objects to other objects. So you can snap it to a volume, a face, an edge, or a vertex. We're just going to snap these to the closest face. And we are going to select this, which keeps the orientation of your original object pointing in the relative same direction as you move and place it around the tree here. So with your little icosphere selected, just Shift D, and you can just let go and place it, and you can see that did not stick very well. And grab. Let me do that again, Shift D. Yeah, there we go. So that's working okay. Sometimes it's a little wonky, but just Shift D and kind of place lights wherever you like. And when you're doing this, you can see it's going to stick to any closest face. It doesn't matter what object it is. I'm doing this fast so I'm not wasting time or making things more confusing. So I'm just Shift D and I'm just placing these things kind of at random. It's not going to be pretty, but it gets the point across. So because you are just learning how to use this software. So basically just good to play around and not worry about the technical details. As long as you have a few basic controls, you can learn from there. And then it's just about playing around, testing everything out. And I think I'll just leave lights off the bottom there. So, see, that was a quick and easy way to place your lights. And if you zoom in and move around, you can see they're all stuck to the, not stuck, they're not stuck, but they are positioned right on the surface of the cone. So there is the, what I would say, not the prettiest tree in the world, but hopefully you learned and got used to somewhat the controls on how to navigate your scene and add objects and move them and manipulate them. And next we're going to go ahead and make just a few presents to throw under the tree, which will be a fairly simple process, just a cube and some minor tweaks to them. So go ahead and keep practicing with your lights and your ornaments and moving things around, and we'll see you in the next video.